welcome to my channel. Before we start, make sure you grab your drink, grab your snack, and sit down because we are going to go deep on the show. I am talking about Love is Blind Sweden. Yes, there is a Swedish version out now on Netflix of the famous or infamous Love is Blind USA. We also had, I think, 3 seasons of the Brazilian version, and then there was a couple seasons of the Japanese version. I had no clue that a Swedish version was coming out. I was clicking on Netflix, and then there was 4 episodes out already that came out on the 12th, so about like a week ago. And then 4 new episodes, they're out. They came out yesterday on the 19th. So if you want to binge, there are 8 episodes out now. And then next Friday, there'll be episode 9th. And I think the following one, episode 10th. First of all, this show makes me want to travel so bad. The locations were so beautiful. Like you see Stockholm, and then they go to their honeymoon, not honeymoon, yeah, after they get engaged, you know, they always go on the trip. They go to Cyprus, which is like a little island in, I'm gonna try to like point out on the map. So Greece is here, Lebanon's here, Egypt's here, Turkey's here, and Cyprus is right in the middle. And I've been to Egypt, and the water, it's crystally blue. It's one of the most beautiful waters I've ever seen. And when they go to their little honeymoon trip, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Cyprus so bad. It's beautiful. They also have the little get together, like their engagement party, in this beautiful house on top of a cliff. I was like, where did they found this house? But people on the Twitterverse are already commenting that this, this branch of the franchise, of the Love franchise tree, is the most shallow version of them all. Mainly because 2 men, they said, and I quote unquote, one of them said, I am insanely superficial. And then the other one said, I'm usually very superficial. And I'm like, what are you doing on Love is Blind, man? And that's so interesting because I thought the cast members of Love is Blind Sweden were the best looking group of people out of all the other versions of Love is Blind, beating Brazil. And you think Brazil, you know, the most beautiful people in the world, but I thought the Swedish version, they all look like models, besides one guy that I do not like, and I would not say his name. The women were gorgeous, the men were hot, and the accents, I love a good foreign accent. And I watched in their original, language with the English subtitles, and they were speaking in, Swedish. And oh my gosh, the accent made the men look even hotter. They all sounded like Vikings. Love is not blind when you know that the person you talk to on the other side of the pod, it's going to be a beautiful person, because 90% of the cast members of Love is Blind, and I include all seasons of all franchises, they're beautiful people. You know, they're very good looking. I think there's only like maybe 5%, that we got some cast members that weren't that good looking. So when you go on Love is Blind, your chance of finding someone that, it's good looking, it's like 90%. But my point is, because Love is Blind Sweden had such a group, a big group of beautiful people, it proved that you cannot have a meaningful connection with someone and make a relationship work just because your partner is hot. Boys and girls out there, let me tell you about something called the ick. If you haven't heard about the ick, I will try to explain, because in all seasons of Love is Blind, we've seen couples that have the ick for each other, but I think Love is Blind Sweden broke all records. It was uncomfortable to watch at times. Think about Irina and Zach, or Bartiz and Nancy. So the ick, it's not a feeling of like disgust or hatred towards someone. It's just a feeling that you you can make that connection, and it's usually with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You know, you cannot have the ick towards a friend or a family member. It's someone that you want to have a relationship, and there's nothing wrong with the other person. The other person can be the most lovely person, the most beautiful person. Think Chris Evans, Brad Pitt, Giselle Bundchen. It doesn't matter how beautiful they are. If you have the ick for them, nothing works. I dated this guy, and he was did everything for me, and things that I would never even ask, like little things, big things. I don't want to get into details, but he treated me like a queen. If I asked him to go to the sky and get the moon for me, he would do that. And also physically, the first time I saw this guy without his shirt off, and he was like, if you see him in clothes, he looked like kind of like a skinny guy. But he took his shirt off for the first time, and I was like, remember the movie Crazy Stupid Love, when Ryan Gosling takes his shirt off and Emma Stone looks at him like, oh, it's like you Photoshop. And when this guy took his shirt off, I looked at him and I said, you're Photoshopped. He didn't get the reference because he's never seen the movie, but that's how like gorgeous he was, you know, and not just the body, like the face, and once again, like the sweetest guy. But something about every time he would kiss me or he would like touch me, it was like, it's the ick, and you can't explain why you have the ick. So in Love is Blind Sweden, all the couples basically had the ick for each other besides Rasmus and Chrissy Lee. They're basically like the it couple. He keeps calling themselves we're the power couple. We're the power couple. I love being the power couple. I'm like, chill out, dude, chill out. I think he means like power couple because they're the ones that have like the strongest connection. Think about, you know, Lauren Cameron, Tiffany and Brad. So they are like the main couple that you know they're gonna work out, you know they're going to say yes. Now I'm going to break down couple by couple. And since we're talking about the power couple, Rasmus and Chrissy Lee, it was all paradise before they had to meet each other's dogs. So Rasmus, he has a Chow Chow, Dino, sweetest dog. And then Chrissy Lee, she has a Bull Terrier, Dexter. As soon as she said Bull Terrier, I was like, oh, with the Chow Chow, which is like the most mellow dog, this is not going to go well. And she was super nervous because she said Dexter is her whole world and Dino, it's his whole world. What if they don't get along? How are they going to make this relationship work? First of all, Dexter needs training. He's just a barker. I've taken care of like 2 Bull Terriers, and I mean, forget about the FedEx guy, the Amazon driver, the mailman, because they were the devil in disguise for these dogs. But a bird will fly outside the fence, and they were like, bah, 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 bah. And Dexter was even barking at Chrissy Lee. She was telling him to sit down, give him a treat, and he was like, bah, 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 bah. And when Dino came, such a well-behaved dog, he would do sit, lay down, and what's his name, Rasmus, he made a good point. He said, before I got a dog, I did a lot of research, I read. He said there's a lot of people that get dogs and don't want to learn how to train their dogs, and he said, then don't get a dog. It's almost like you have kids, you know, you're a couple, you're trying to blend your families, and then if he sees how she's raising her kids and the kids are like messy, not, you know, they don't have any manners, they're, you know, bad, you know, they have a bad behavior, and his kids are super well behaved, he's going to point out and say, hey, you're not raising your kids right. And she's going to say, hey, I raise my kids whatever the way I want. So they tried to get the dogs to meet, and she was so anxious and stressed out that her emotions passed it on to the dog. And Rasmus, he was saying, let him come and sniff Dino. We don't see much more of the dogs together, so I guess it worked out. Another thing that they have a conversation about is finances, because she said that she's just finishing up school. She's studying interior design, and she needs to get a part-time job now because, you know, she's not financially stable, and he is. And in my head, it's like, haven't people learned? I'm talking to you, Stacy and Izzy. You have to talk finances in the pods. But she said she can't contribute much to the relationship for a couple of years because she wants to develop her own business. And she asked him, how often do you want to travel? And he said, every 3 months. He said, basically every quarter I want to travel. And she's like, that's not going to be possible for me. I can't afford that. And I don't want to put that burden on you. And he's like, okay, then I won't travel as much. So it's kind of like an icky situation. But once again, like, guys, if you sign up for Love is Blind, make sure you talk about finances in the pods. So let's move on to our next couple, Christoper and Katya. He is so infatuated by her. He actually calls her every time he sees her. She might be brushing her teeth. She might be, be making breakfast. She walks into the room and he calls her joy of my heart and my eternal longing. He says that so many times, joy of my heart and eternal longing, that at one point I was like, Christoper, if you say that one more time, I'm going to hang myself with my dog's leash. And people in the Twitterverse are all saying he's the sweetest guy, and he is. I think he means so well when he says that one-liner about eternal longing and showers her with compliments. But at one point, it becomes love bombing, and it's getting on her nerves. You can tell. Love bombing, it's not just with like gifts and material things. It can also be with gestures or words. When they're having breakfast with the whole group, all the other couples, and she's trying to listen to someone, and he's playing with her hair, and then he whispers in her ear, "You flawless." She actually rolls her eyes. And their issue is that he said she hasn't given him one compliment since they met. And he's just like showering her with compliments. But she said that she only compliments people when it's natural. It has to come naturally to her. And I totally agree with her. Why give someone a compliment just for the sake of it? I think she feels so much pressure because he's spoiling her so much. She even said that she was talking to her friends and she said, he massages my hands and my feet all the time. Another issue they have is that Katya said he's not the type of guy that she usually goes for. He has the purple hair. She said he dresses more like a rocker with the boots and the chain, and she usually go for more sporty guys. And that's okay. I'm not mad at her for that. And she seems like a really nice girl. That's her preference. We all have preferences. Like, I like guys that are taller than me. Is it a diss towards shorter guys? No, it's just my preference. They're butt guys. They're boob guys. They're guys that like girls that dress more like tomboys and sporty. And they're guys that like girls, in high heels and tight dresses. Everyone has their preference. She did make a good point, though. She said, she was talking to her friends, and she said that being with someone like that, will bend backwards to her, doesn't challenge her enough. And that she feels that he's basically a pushover, a pussy, and she doesn't find that attractive. But she should communicate that with him, because she was telling his family that 2 things that she was looking for someone in the pods, with someone with good communication skills and something else. I forgot the second thing. So for her not to communicate the way she's feeling to Christoper, like everything that she said to her girlfriends, she should tell him and make a joke of it. Like next time he said, "Oh, joy of my heart and eternal longing," like laugh about it and say, "My love, like please, enough. I know I'm your eternal longing. It's okay. I know I'm flawless. That's fine. Like no more. Like tone it down." And then Katya suggests that they get separate places after they get married, because she lives in Stockholm and he doesn't, but he's willing to move there for her. But she said she wants to keep her apartment because her girlfriend said, yeah, your apartment, it's your castle, and he should get a place of his own for the time being. And she said, we need our safe spaces. I used to think that when people in Love is Blind, after they get married, don't want to live together, I thought it was so weird. I was like, hey, but you just got married. But it's very smart to still have your own place in case anything happens. Remember Colleen and Matt? People gave them such a hard time, especially at the reunion, that it's been like a year after they got married and they still didn't live together. She said that is because they didn't want to break their leases, otherwise it would cost them a lot of money. But she said that Matt was at her place 6 nights a week, and then she would go to his place. And she said, we're together all the time. We just don't live together. And now they're still, years later, they're still happily married, very much in love. Sometimes I see them on Instagram. I think they bought a house. So it worked out for them. So that idea that Katya had to have separate places, once again, I wasn't mad about it, but it felt like she was just using that as an excuse to not be with him. Because she said that she wasn't in love with him. She didn't even say, like, I'm not in love with you yet. She just said, I'm not in love with you. I was like, ouch. And then they finally had an open conversation. And this is really interesting because he told her, the bad guy always wins. And she's like, what? He said, the bad guy always wins. The nice guy always loses. What does a guy always want from a girl? We always say that a guy wants a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets. He wants, someone that's poised and classy, introduced to the family. But in the bed, they want us to be freaks. But then I thought, us women, we kind of want the same thing. We want a nice guy, a gentleman on the streets. But then when it comes to the sheets, we want someone that will throw us around, do freaky shit to us. So I completely understood why he was so confused when he asked her. He said, what do women want? You guys want a nice guy, but when we're nice to you, you go for the bad guy. And when he asked that question to Katya, she didn't even have an answer. Spoiler alert, they don't make it. They don't even make it to the altar. She doesn't even go wedding shopping. She goes as a friend, but they break up. And then next couple we have is Sergio and Amanda. This dude and his greasy hair. I knew as soon as he popped up on the screen, he would get on my nerves. Every season we have one of those, right? I'm trying to think. Shake, I think was season 1 or season 2. And then we had Bartiz. I know some people go on Love is Blind with the mentality that this is a competition and they have to play a game because they're there to find a partner. What was her name? Stacy. She kind of played the game, was between her and Jody, and she didn't tell any of the girls who she was dating or who she was interested in, and that was such a smart play on her part. What Sergio did, he lied to Amanda. He said that she was the only one he was seeing / dating when he was seeing other women. And she found out when she was in the women's headquarters, lounge area. And then after he told her that she was the only one that he was seeing, 2 other girls come in and saying that just came out from a date with Sergio. And she said that it's not the fact that he's dating other women, because we're all here to date other people. It's the fact that he lied. And if you lied about that, you will lie about bigger stuff. Amanda, out of the whole group, is the best girl. She is naturally beautiful. She has great values. She was saying something about honesty, don't turn the other cheek. Chrissy said Amanda was sent from heaven, but being that nice and too nice can backfire, because I think her interaction with Sergio, and let me know in the comments down below if you think the same thing, if you watch the show, her interaction with Sergio is very like mom-like. The way she talks to him, the way she holds his hand, the way she rubs his face is very much like a mother and son relationship. Oh, and Sergio, during the pods, thought about ending things with her after she told him that growing up she had scoliosis. If you don't know, scoliosis is when your spine is not aligned. So you either need to have surgery or wear a brace. She called it a corset. But I had one of my best friends in, what is before high school? Middle high? No, high, middle, junior high, whatever, before high school. So my best friend, she had scoliosis and she had to wear, it's like a plastic brace around like your rib cage. And then there's a metal thing, right? And this was back in the day. So it's like a metal thing right here on her neck and her spine. Amanda said that she was bullied in school because she had to wear a brace, and she had scoliosis. And this dumbass mind, now he thinks that Amanda is ugly because she was bullied. Newsflash, buddy. Pretty people get bullied too. Bullies don't discriminate. A pretty girl can get bullied because of her accent, because of her social status. Like if she, she comes from a poor family, or if she lives in a poor neighborhood, she can get bullied for that. She can get bullied because she doesn't have, a new pair of sneakers, or the Stanley Cup, or, new clothes. Anyone can get bullied. Looks have nothing to do with that. What a dumb logic that this man had. Oh, and then he was trying to pick up fights with her because he gave her that cheap ass bracelet and she wasn't wearing it because she said she couldn't like tie tighter. So he got mad about that, and he also got mad because she didn't give him a ring. But because she's Christian, giving a man a ring, she wants to save it for the altar. Apparently in Sweden, it's like Brazil, the man gets a ring as well. But he was upset that he didn't get a ring. There's a rumor flying out there that there's a woman in Barcelona that's carrying Sergio's kid, and she's about to give birth in like 3 months. But we still haven't found out if that rumor is real or not. So I wonder if they're gonna address that in the next episode. So let's move on to Oscar and Mayra. So Mayra's complaint is about looks. Once again, she's saying that, she complains that Oscar wears chinos, which I have no clue what chinos are. He's a sailing guy. He's a white Swedish guy, and she never dated a Swedish guy. Mayra, if you wanted to date someone of your own race, by the way, she's like half Afghanistan. I know her family's from Afghanistan, and she like moved to India to pursue Bollywood. She has Middle Eastern features, but she's light skinned, blue eyes, and brunette. In my head, when she says she never dated a Swedish guy, that's not her type, it seems like she wants to date within her race. I'm like, Mayra, then just wait for Love is Blind Afghanistan to come out. Because you're going to Love is Blind Sweden, 99.9% of the guys are going to be Swedish. And then she said that she never felt at home amongst the people in Sweden, which that I kind of like, I understand, because once again, I'm an immigrant, I'm from Brazil, I live in the US. Sometimes there is like a culture shock. But then when she met his family, and his family is lovely, and she said that he doesn't have the stereotypical Swedish family that I had in my head. And I was like, yes, because you were psyching yourself out. I wonder if she's jealous because this guy is so good looking that he wakes up in the morning looking like Ryan Gosling effortlessly. And she said that she has a 6-step skincare bedtime routine. And I'm like, 6 steps? I barely have 2. I wash my face and I moisturize. 6 steps. Our last couple is Lucas and Emelia, who have zero chemistry. Zero chemistry, because she's all over him. She's a very sexual person. She kisses him and she's like very into him. And you can tell he's got the ick. And she said that, oh, then I'm going to take 2 steps back and wait for him to come to me. She even mentions in episode 7, she's talking to her girlfriends, and she said that she suggested to him that they should see a sex therapist, which a sex therapist can help in a lot of relationships, but as a sex therapist would never fix the ick. I'm telling you, the ick doesn't go away. I give props to Lucas for trying, because it seems like he is trying, but they don't seem sure. And like her friend said, when you marry someone, you have to be sure. You have to be confident about it. And she said, like, she looks at Emelia and the way Emelia talks about her relationship with Lucas, that she's not confident. And so that she shouldn't get married. What I thought is that, how about Emelia and Christoper? I wonder if they're like outside of the show, maybe they meet, because I think they'll be a good match. If you've seen the show, let me know if you think Emelia and Christoper will work. So these were my thoughts on Love is Blind Sweden. It's nice to see a different culture, how people act on the show. Which couples do you think we'll get married. We'll say yes. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'm so out of breath. I think I talk too much. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell, the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll see you next time.